Developmental psychologists have long been interested in the cause and effect links between parenting styles and child development. Psychologist Dinah Baumrein identified 3 styles from her extensive research, and further research by McCoby and Martin suggested adding a 4th. So generally speaking, the 4 parenting styles are permissive, neglectful, authoritarian, and authoritative. To understand the differences, it's helpful to position these 4 styles in quadrants defined by 4 coordinates. The top axis point represents parenting that is high in love, and the bottom point represents parenting that is low in love. The far left is low in discipline and instruction. The far right is high in discipline and instruction. This diagram illustrates where each parenting style operates and how they function. So, starting from the top left quadrant and moving counterclockwise, here's an explanation of the 4 parenting styles. Number 1, permissive parenting. Permissive parenting is high in love, but it's low in discipline and instruction. Now, this is very attractive to some parents because it comes with very few demands. Discipline and instruction are rare. In effect, it allows parents to take on the role of a friend more than that of a parent. According to Dinah Baumrein, permissive parents, sometimes referred to as indulgent parents, are more responsive than they are demanding. They are non-traditional and lenient. They don't require mature behavior. They allow considerable self-regulation and avoid confrontation. In my experience, many parents who are permissive and indulgent grew up in an environment where there were lots of rules and restrictions with little nurturing and communication. Their parents may have loved them deeply, but they didn't know how to communicate it effectively. So now, as parents themselves, they've determined that love equals leniency. So the meter's just pegged out on the extreme left, with a version of love where discipline and instruction are virtually absent. The second style of parenting, neglectful parenting. This one is low in love, and it's also low in discipline and instruction. These parents are uninvolved, with few demands, little communication, and minimal direction. While they fulfill the child's basic needs, they're generally detached emotionally, socially, and spiritually. So you've got 2 adults who basically created a baby with little thought given to care and nurture. And in extreme cases, these parents neglect or even reject the needs of their children. The third parenting style, authoritarian parenting. This one is low in love, but it's high in discipline and instruction. So, children are expected to follow strict rules with little to no explanation behind the rules. In these environments, "because I said so" is commonly heard. The goal in this type of parenting is to raise compliant kids, and failure to comply, that usually results in punishment. According to Baumrein, these parents are obedience and status oriented, and they expect their orders to be obeyed without explanation. And finally, the 4th style of parenting is this, authoritative parenting. Authoritative parenting is both high in love, but it's also high in discipline and instruction. So rules and guidelines are clearly established for children to follow. But this type of parenting is more responsive and willing to listen to questions. When children fail to meet expectations, discipline is appropriately applied, but it's applied with love and forgiveness rather than pure punishment. Baumrein suggests that these parents monitor and impart clear standards for their children's conduct. They are assertive, but not intrusive and restrictive. Their disciplinary methods are supportive rather than punitive. They want their children to be assertive as well as socially responsible, and self-regulated as well as cooperative. Studies show that the two worst parenting styles are authoritarian and neglectful. Rules without relationship, that's authoritarian, often leads to rebellion. No rules and no relationship, that's neglectful, creates a void in a child's life that leads to a lack of self-control and self-esteem. Both authoritarian and neglectful parenting styles produce children who rank lower in happiness and social competence. Permissive parenting also produces children who rank low in happiness and self-regulation while struggling with authority and performing poorly in school. Now, this is important. The best parenting style is authoritative. Authoritative is high in discipline and instruction, but it's also high in love. I believe this reflects what the scriptures say about Jesus in John 1:17. It says, "The law was given through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ." Now, we have a tendency to swing to extremes with grace on one end and truth on the other. But Jesus didn't switch off grace to access truth or switch off truth to access grace. They were always integrated. And I believe that He can enable us to extend grace and truth to our children, even when the circumstances are hard. Discipline, correction, and boundaries, well, they're all expressions of grace and truth. Leading, loving, and relating to our children with an authoritative parenting style, one that's high in love but also high in discipline and instruction, well, that's parenting with grace and truth. It's the way our Heavenly Father leads, loves, and relates to us. And I believe it's the way He wants us to parent our children.